Alright guys, welcome back to another season. So today what we're going to be playing is Going Medieval. This is what we're going to be playing for spring. First off, I wanted to just create a new save. The other one was probably not going to work for what we needed for the game. There's been major changes, so I just started setting this part up. I tried to find basically a region that was kind of centralized. I ended up going for this particular one with a hillside map. Once we did that, we named our settlement, which is going to be called Hillwarden, which is also going to be called our settlement name. And then we customized our own character, so this is pretty much what I settled for our main character. We're only going with a lone wolf, which means we're starting off with one settler, which is sometimes easier, sometimes harder, depending on when you what stats they actually have. So we'll be starting in the winter as well, so it'll be a little bit more challenging. So to recap what we have Hillwarden, which is our settlement name, one survivor, we have easy for standard and lone wolf, as well as a hillside map, so we'll have moderate resources and balanced temperature. The first thing I like to get started with is basically just getting a weapon equipped and putting on a hat, because those are the two things that are going to really help keep the settler alive for the most part. So we're just unlocking all these things. And we did start with a little bit of wood, so I'm going to place down that underneath our food. Not that the food's going to be there for a while, but it's always good to make sure that the food is not going to spoil or basically quicker than it needs to. So got him to build just a simple thing there. So the next thing that I wanted to do was just make sure that we're going to build on unstable ground, and there was some unstable water over here. After that, I wanted to figure out where our resources were, because that's going to really depend on where we're going to end up building. And winter's always a hard time to actually pinpoint where all the resources are because of the light and the actual resources, but it looks like there's a lot of iron over here and a few other things. We have also clay around here as well, lots of it. So I think we'll build right where we are. After that, we needed to get a simple shelter set up, so we're gonna have to chop down some trees and just schedule our settler to basically have priority over building and everything, so we're just going to lower the other parts there. And then once we've done that, we're going to start working on a simple shelter, probably a 5x5. That usually is good enough for supports and stuff. There is stability in this game, so there's certain ways that you need to build things and stuff like that, but I started planning out a simple 5x5 room here. One of the most important things for Lone Wolf is to actually harvest some grass. If you don't do this soon enough, then you're not going to have any resources for new settlers, and you'll have to kind of wait until like spring, so that's not good generally. We were just finishing up some of the floors here, but we did get a roof overhead and a simple sleeping spot. So he'll have somewhere to sleep inside for now. We don't have any warmth or anything like that, but we'll work on that the next day. And yeah, good start. So come morning, we started working on harvesting some food, and I named the resources just to make it a little bit easier to know what we're actually dealing with. We're low on food, so we're going to need to get a cooking spot and butchering table up pretty soon. Alright, so the next thing that we needed to work on was getting a simple campfire built so we can actually cook some food. And the other thing that we're going to need is to go ahead and get a butchering table, because when you first start, there are usually some sort of animal carcasses laying around on the forest floor, so it's really easy for getting started with a little bit of food. It's not like a thing that will be 24/7 that you'll actually have access to, but things like wolves and stuff usually hunt, so you can usually steal their food for them. But yeah, we need a butchering table to start with, so let's get that. Alright, so after kind of searching around a little bit, I did find a deer not too far away and in a accessible area. So we're going to just go ahead and get him to haul that into a spot right here. We'll probably have one for future carcasses that we can actually put here, and then we have like a storage for them, but I'm just gonna put that down and then he'll go get that soon. After that, we needed a couple new objects for him to build, which is one for a religious spot and the other one for leisure activities, so we needed to build those quickly. Alright, so after that we were working on an expansion for our building, and there was actually a merchant that came in with a chicken, which is going to be kind of a problem because we have barley laying around, and yeah, sure enough, eventually the chicken and both the dog that we sold to them started eating our barley, so that's kind of unfortunate. It's really expensive for purchasing barley. He does have some, but we don't have enough resources to really trade for it, so we'll just have to make do what we got. But you know, there's perfectly good hay there for the chicken, and yet it goes for the barley, so it's a little frustrating, but we'll make do. Hopefully he'll leave soon, and then we can get back to building. We had this opportunity to accept a settler, but in this sense we would have to do a battle, and I don't know if we were on friendly factions with this. So I checked the factions and we are in neutral with that particular faction, so I'm glad I denied it. But yeah. Meanwhile, we just started working on research and working on that really well. We then worked on, I believe we're on day 7 or something like that, so we're getting really close to spring. I wanted to get a farm set up so we can start planting some stuff in the spring there, so I needed to see how many seeds we had. We started with a 9x9 for cabbage. That'll get us started with that part. And I always like to have at least one of the tiles for going to seed, so I have a separate one here for that. And we also have some barley left over, so we can plant some of that. So we have quite a bit actually, so we can plant it over on the other side here. We should have enough for that. And then we have flax seed as well, so we'll probably put that on the other side there. And that will get us started, at least for the first year. But yeah, that's a good start, I think. Spring's finally here, and we got a new settler. So this one is not interested in range or combat, but there is one hidden perk. I'm not sure what it is, so we'll have to accept them to find that out. The perk wasn't anything too good. They have a dullard effect, which is basically lower learning and not great for basically like skilled labor and stuff, so that's alright. We'll have them probably do simple tasks like farming and stuff. We could always use an extra farmer, so we'll do that, and then Angus can basically work on getting research and stuff done. I think that'll be the best part to tackle, at least for the moment, until we can find somebody to help with other things, but that's a good start. After that, we needed to start thinking about bedrooms now that we have 2 settlers and that they're currently sharing the same room. They don't really generally like doing that, so what we need to do is build a couple separate room quarters. We're just going to do a 5x5 for now and get a window and stuff in, and that will be good enough to start with, and then we can always build up if we need to. We've unlocked a few things, but the next thing that we need to do is preserving food, which allows us to store things on shelves and keep it fresh. Our first harvest for our flax is actually ready now, so we have that guy that joined not too long ago. He's harvesting it up. We're getting some linen, so we can start working on some clothes for both of the settlers. We had another merchant come in while we were building the final roofs, and these guys were friendly terms with, so that's good. Sadly, they didn't really have anything that we could afford or buy that was worthwhile, so that's unfortunate though. We were able to place down a couple shelves for the raw food that we're pulling in, and eventually we'll need a underground storage for that, but we started working on the bedrooms as well. Anyhow, that's pretty much all that we were able to get done. We got a pretty big structure built so far, and we're going to get way more things and progression the further that we go. But if you're new to my channel, definitely consider subscribing and clicking that bell so you stay notified. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace out.